point being, it's not the responsibility of the city to do it, but it is the responsibility of the city to make sure there's agreement in place whereby that's accounted for.
So the city would not be liable for going in there doing any work, it would be on the Boys and Girls Club.
That is correct.
Okay,
That
I'm
is
trying to
correct.
get understanding for me because, you know, after you let the gate open, the horses are gone.
Yes,
They are gone.
you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now, I have another question here. On these resolutions, what we have here, I'm just trying to make sure that the city is protected and we know what we're doing. Did we run into this by our city attorney on these resolutions to look at and see if there was anything else needed to be added or where we wouldn't be liable or anything, Mr. Mayor?
I have not run anything by her.
Sir?
I have not run anything by her that I normally don't when a grant is applied for. Janice, you may speak to that. That's not.
This is the administrative part.
It's an administrative part of the process.
I just wouldn't want anything to get by in the city be waiting on having to pay out some unnecessary money. Mr. Attorney, do you have a copy of this resolution here?
I got it on Friday. I looked at it yesterday afternoon. I have no background beyond what I see in front of me. You know, I want to give an opinion, so I have some background of what's going on. As I talked to the gentleman, I would not know what's in this resolution. That's one space.
I have a question to follow up, and it's just simply a matter of housekeeping. Has the Board of Education been involved and received a copy of this resolution, or where are they in the process since it is their facility?
We're meeting with the Board of Education tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock to secure the lease. We'll be going over all the terms of the lease. That's who we'll have the lease with, is the Board of Education.
And that leads me to the question, does this resolution somehow need to include in section 2 that they also will be a part of the proper upkeep, and because that is still their building, even though it will be leased, are they going to be completely out of that once it's leased, or do you know those details yet?
I'm going to defer to Bill with this. He familiar with the resolution and what's required of this grant.
Okay.
In this situation, the Boys and Girls Club would be solely responsible for the operation and maintenance of that facility. Once the lease is signed by the Board of Education, it's on the responsibility of those leasing it to do what they need to do. In this case, you are applying for a grant that we hope will get funded to do the project. If that grant is funded, then of course we want to make sure that the agreement is in place if the city is protected so that we don't have any responsibility there. My point is this. The worst case scenario is, should that agreement not be finalized to the satisfaction of the city would have the option to turn the grant back and not do the project. So we would be protected up to that point.
And it sounds like to me that all the proper steps are in place and that we are actually ahead of the game in that there's already a meeting scheduled with the Board of Education.
Yes.
And tonight I'm just simply applying for this grant. There is no guarantee in the grant, as most of you know. So we are, as a matter of fact, ahead of the process.
That's exactly right. Yes, sir.
That's reassuring. That answers my question.
The Boys and Girls Club, just as a point of information for you all, they have provided us the first year's detailed budget for operation. They've more than halfway met that budget even before we make an application. So they're well on the path to satisfy that first year completely. Now that's not perpetuity, Mr. Washington, understand that, but the agreement will account for that. Should they not do it, they're in violation of the agreement, and then we go forward with whatever was necessary to make sure that was protecting the city.
Can we move forward? Mr. Washington, any more questions on that?
No, sir, no.
I believe on the new business, the first reading of the annexation ordinance would be the next thing. Then item 2, schedule work session for the redistricting council districts. Bill, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, so we've done extensive work, as y'all are probably aware, in preparing for a meeting with y'all on a work session. The idea is to present some options to you all that make you, number one, realize first there was indeed a need to redistrict based on the new census numbers in your old council districts. And of course, we'll show you that visually. We want to prepare before y'all actually came to the table and put your time in an investment of looking at any map work. We've got a couple of proposals that we're simply going to put in front of you to look at. With your approval, we'll take those and modify accordingly, but the idea is to give you the information you all need to sit down with us and move us in a direction that's appropriate for Wetumpka for the upcoming redistricting boundaries.
Were you able to stay as there 5% or so?
It can't exceed a 10% deviation in any given district. Plus, as you know, there must be at least one district that is primarily a majority minority. We've been able to do that. It was sort of a unique. There's been enough growth in different districts in the city that it's beginning to take different shapes, but I believe we're going to be able to do that appropriately as we did in the last census period. So, point being, I want to get y'all far enough along where you can look at that together and y'all can determine then what modifications need to be made to give us the final end product. And that's where we want that work session.
Date or just a regular council meeting?
No,
This
you
is-
need to,
This
we
is
need
just
to just for that,
meeting to discuss it.
and possibly next Monday, next Monday afternoon, I think Bill and I can talk.
Could we do like 4 o'clock next Monday?
I believe we've worked that out just fine. I'm pretty sure that will be open to us. There will be public hearing time, of course, after that when it's more open to everyone. What we want to do is be sure y'all have a chance to discuss it among yourself and see things and be informed as to what the numbers look like, so you can better determine where you want to go. The public hearing process will follow that, though.
Okay, and then the next item we have is Wetumpka City Cemetery.
Okay, this cemetery happens to be in District 2, and it is in very, very bad shape. It needs a new fence put around it. I'm asking the city to put a brand new fence around the cemetery. You have the, what I call the front side, which is on Martin Luther King Highway, looking very good. And on the back side, where the fence has been there for beaucoup years, is practically, it's worn out, it's raggedy, vines and stuff in it, and it looks very bad facing this residential housing there. And it's just not right to have, like it's sitting one side, we have all across the front looking neat. And that whole fence needs replaced, and I'd like to know from mayor and council, see what we can do if we need to put it out for bids to put a new fence around the cemetery, where the fence is.
Okay, replacing the fence that's there now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to get a price on what that fence would cost to replace that fence?
Yes, sir, get a price or whether, if we have to find whether we need to bid it or what. But some years ago, we was talking about putting it in, it didn't get done. And it was mentioned about putting a black, instead of going back with the aluminum, putting black fence all the way around, rather than putting aluminum back.
Okay, but again, you're talking about the fence that would go down, going out to